So we created a small school with about 300 students in which teachers teach in teams. And a team of teachers takes responsibility for a group of kids. The teachers are very well prepared. Most of them are graduates of the Stanford Teacher Education Program. We also use the school as a place to train new teachers for the next generation. And they are committed to working with these kids. They're prepared to teach English language learners. Most of the students are new immigrants from Latin America and Central America. They are prepared to teach kids how to make up the differential between where they are and where they need to be. So there's a lot of gap closing that has to happen. We organized the curriculum with that in mind. And we organized it so that the education is exciting and engaging for kids. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're the first person in your family ever to graduate from high school, which is true for 2/3 of our kids, in order to really commit to high school and then going on to college, you have to come to believe that education is actually going to matter for you, that it's going to be engaging and exciting.
President Barack Obama has set a new standard, calling upon Americans to get a year of education after high school, either education or training, saying, and I'll quote, getting a year after high school, it's just not about quitting on yourself, it's quitting on your country if you fail to get your high school degree. And this country, he says, needs and values the talents of every American. He went on to add, though, that is why we will provide the support necessary for you to complete college and meet a new goal. By 2020, America will once again have the highest proportion of college graduates in the world. Is the Obama 2020 goal achievable in your mind?
I think that would be very challenging. And the reason is not just that we have to get more kids through high school and into college, but we have to actually grow the college sector. Other countries have been creating universities. They're also fully funding many of their citizens to come to the United States to go to college free of charge. I mean, fully on the government dime. And we don't support most of our kids.
On their government's dime.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't support most of our kids to do that. We don't have a big enough college sector to do that. If you look at Korea, for example, now in 1953, Korea had lost 85% of its school buildings. Only 10% of people graduated from high school. They're now graduating over 95% of their people from high school and sending 82% of them to college. California only sends 28% of its kids to college. So we don't even have the slots in our college system to educate that many young people to get a college degree. In California, we've lost 20,000 slots from our university system in the last 2 years because of budget cuts. And that's not unusual. Across the nation, the prison budget and the higher ed budget are competing for state dollars. And in many places, we're now spending more on prisons than we are on higher education. So in order to achieve that goal, we not only have to improve access to college, we have to improve the size and scale and funding for our university sector.
Linda, for 7 years, you headed up the National Commission on Teaching and America's Future. Your report has gained recognition as having been seminal, research that actually made a difference. Your commission helped shape the educational agenda. Around the nation today, there are around 15 states that have set up poverty and opportunity commissions. They're calling for reports and research. They often worry, though, that these are reports destined for the shelf. Share with us your lessons. Is there something generic about the way you set up the commission, undertook the report, rolled it out, other activities around the commission that helped you have a commission that made a difference?
That's a great question, and I want to start by pointing out that the commission was chaired by Governor Jim Hunt of North Carolina at that time. And we also were fortunate to have Governor Jim Edgar of Michigan serve on the commission. So we had Republican and Democratic governors and a set of business representatives and other education representatives who helped us think about this question of how do you get action in the field. I think that the report, first of all, was timely in that it focused on a problem that people were ready to pay attention to, but hadn't yet conceptualized. It brought together stakeholders from all of these different parts of the community, business, politicians, education, and so on, and so that, I think, was helpful. We were asked to create a little scorecard for each state on a set of indicators of whether they were investing in quality teaching, and we did. That got a lot of attention because each state could look, see how many apples they had earned for making certain kinds of investments that could strengthen their teaching force. And then Governor Hunt said to us, well, we ought to get some states who are willing to step up and follow our recommendations. And we ought to invite states to become partners. And North Carolina will be number one. And so he stepped up to do that. And he encouraged us to open the doors to other states. And we had very certainly about 20-some states that said they would start their own state commissions to look at the status of teaching in their states and to propose legislation to address the needs that they had. We helped those states figure out how to look at the status of teaching, to do the research in their own states, and to come up with their own diagnosis and set of solutions. And many of them enacted legislation that tackled various parts of the problem. We encouraged other organizations, the National Governors Association, Education Commission of the States, state legislators, school boards, etc., to explore the implications for their constituents of making the kinds of investments in quality teaching that we were calling for. And we helped them raise money to do that in their own parts of their organizations. So we approached it as a community undertaking. With all parts of the community having a stake, parents and educators and governance members at the state, local, and federal level. And we approached it as a challenge in each state to personalize or tailor or customize the issues for themselves.
Thank you for drilling that down. It does seem like at the national level what you were saying was let's devolve to local communities, states, then local localities, and let's bring in all of the stakeholders. And I think that holds a lot of lessons for poverty commissions at the state level. Let me turn to a different issue. The Obama administration has set policy targets in a number of areas. For example, we were just mentioning the issue of college graduation goal for 2020, and I believe the administration also has called for eliminating hunger by 2015. Poverty reduction goals, such as cutting poverty in half in a decade, have been set in 8 states already. Do you think it would help the education equity agenda if the nation or a bunch more states came along and embraced poverty reduction targets? And if so, how would you use a poverty reduction target to help reform education?
Well, I do think that setting poverty reduction goals and targets is a very good idea. And then, of course, figuring out what the policies are that are going to allow you to reach those targets is even more important. And we need to do that. We have more kids in poverty today than we did in 1975. Now, the war on poverty actually worked to a substantial extent. We had more equity in many regards, not only income but also education, in the 1970s than we do today. There were only about 15% of kids in poverty in the mid-70s. It's now, close to a quarter. So we need to set those goals and then think about the kinds of strategies that were successful in the past and could be successful now in achieving them. That will immediately have some positive effects on education, because we know that living in poverty has all kinds of deleterious effects on families and their capacity to attend to the needs of their kids educationally, including the fact that parents are sometimes working 2 or 3 jobs and cannot even be available in the evening to read to the child and help them do their homework and all of those kinds of things. So it will make a big difference for education, for states not only to set those goals, but actually to act on them.
Well, it looks like we have lots of room for a crack at asking you to come back again. So I want to thank you, Linda Darling-Hammond, for joining us at Spotlight. Thank you.
Thank you.